friend, I knew you were. Our common goal was waiting for the world to end. Now that the truth is just a rule that you command.
Well, today we're going to see what happens when director Edgar Wright joins with Michael Cera and then enters the universe of comics and video games with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So, let's see how many coins we can get for beating on a few assholes when I throw this to the round table.
Damn it! I didn't get enough for bus fare.
The basic premise of this movie is pretty damn weird.
Like the fact that the main character isn't likable at all in the beginning?
Well, that wasn't all that weird, since, this is in many ways a Bildungsroman. That's pretentious for saying it's a coming-of-age story.
For those who are unfamiliar, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World follows the story of Scott Pilgrim as he pursues the enigmatic Ramona Flowers, only to learn that, in order to date her, he must defeat her 7 evil exes.
If we're gonna date, you may have to defeat my 7 evil exes.
You have 7 evil ex-boyfriends?
7 evil exes, yes.
Now, I've read some of the comics, and I don't think he was such an ass in the beginning of those. Perhaps this is due to the combination of Wright's directing and writing with Michael Cera's acting, but I can't be sure.
So, do you like him more or less in this adaptation?
I actually feel that he works better in this film. The fact that he is an ass, a douchebag, and an ass bag in the beginning of this film helps make his growth all the more apparent as the plot progresses.
I actually agree with that assessment. I never hated him that much, but I do feel that many of the examples of douchebaggery that he performed early on, such as dating a high schooler and subsequently cheating on her, served to highlight his growth later on.
I hated him.
He's meant to be hated.
You hate a lot of characters.
That's not true.
No, that is true.
Yeah, he's kind of right.
Really, this is probably the best thing I've seen Michael Cera in since Arrested Development. I mean, he doesn't have that much variation in the characters that he plays, and he's kind of typecast, but he does actually seem to fit into this role perfectly.
George Michael, meanwhile, had just been broken up with by his first girlfriend and was on his way home.
I didn't like the awkward humor. I don't understand the appeal of it.
I get that, but when it's a person that you don't really have a problem laughing at, like Scott, I think it can work really well. I never felt embarrassed for the character.
That's really another example of how having the main character be a dick worked in the film's favor. It allowed that brand of humor to work, like with his Pac-Man story.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing.
Hey, you know Pac-Man?
I know of him.
Well, Pac-Man was originally called Puck-Man. They changed it because, not because Pac-Man looks like a hockey puck. Paku means flap your mouth. And that they were worried people would scratch out the P, turn it into an F, like.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'll leave you alone forever now.
Thanks.
I thought his story was great.
No, you didn't. You bitched about him being a dork.
I didn't like it at the time, but now I intend to use that story myself.
Well, what are our thoughts on Ramona?
I think she's the anti-Peach.
Yes, she's not useless. Admittedly, you have to defeat 7 bosses to finally get with her, but she's a capable fighter.
She has a freaking hammer that she keeps in a hammer space. I love that.
It's the band hammer, thank you very much, and for once, the reward actually seems worth the challenge. Hell, I'd fight the evil exes if it meant getting to date her.
My only problem is that she's a little moody and temperamental early on, and that she disappears during like half of the fights.
No, she only disappeared during the second fight.
Yeah, and when you consider her exes and how untrustworthy Scott is, it's not that surprising that she would be trying to maintain distance.
I'm wondering, did anybody else, aside from Birdie, get the CSN references with the band?
Yeah, I got that.
Sorry, dude.
Well, their band's lead is Stephen Stills, who's named after a member of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They also have young Neil, who is kinda, sorta a member of the band in the same way that Neil Young is kinda, sorta a member of CSN.
Yeah, I need to read up on this stuff.
No, you don't. We'll just have Kora explain it.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but my favorite character was, by far, Wallace.
You're totally my bitch forever.
This is my cool gay roommate, Wallace Wells.
Hi.
He's gay.
Scott! Evil X! Right. You have to overcome any and all obstacles that lie in your path. You can do it. Be with her. It's your destiny. Plus, I need you to move out.
What?
Oh, of course! Wallace is fucking awesome.
Wallace is the biggest pimp in this film. He keeps stealing Scott's sister's boyfriends.
Wallace, again?
Oh my gosh.
I almost feel that he might be a parody of Robin.
Well, we all know Robin's gay.
Well, the old one is. Dick Grayson isn't.
Dick Grayson is the old one. Are you saying that Tim Drake is gay?
No, I meant the oldest one.
Dick is the oldest one. The only one left is Jason Todd. And if you try and argue that he's not gay, then we're going to have to explain the birds, the bees, and the robins to you.
I'm saying the 1950s Dick was gay. The 1990s Dick was not.
So you're saying the age of the dick determines the sexuality?
Yes.
I do like Wallace's role as... He's kind of like the opposite of a motivational speaker.
Maybe you can move in with Ramona.
She's with Gideon.
Oh, man. It's probably just because he's better than you.
Well, of the evil X's, which one was y'all's favorite?
For me, it's the third one. It's so completely Brandon Routh.
Which one was he?
I dislike you, capiche?
Tell it to the cleaning lady on Monday.
What?
Because you'll be dust by Monday. Because you'll be pulverized in 2 seconds. And the cleaning lady, she cleans up. Dust. She dusts.
So what's on Monday?
Because it's Friday now. She's the weekend's off, so Monday. Right?
Oh, the guy with the psychic vegan powers?
Let's see. My favorite X would be... It's hard to decide. I liked the end of the fight with number 4. But I'd have to say my favorite is the fight with number 2, who was played by Chris Evans.
I agree completely.
Can I have your autograph, please?
Which one was your favorite?
I'm with you. I think Brandon Routh is my favorite. He's just so awesome in this.
He went Super Saiyan in this.
Scott had to call upon the Punisher to save his ass.
Freeze! Vegan police! Vegan police! Todd Ingram, you're under arrest for veganity violation.
Shit was awesome.
I love how the X's were defeated. The only one whose defeat wasn't that interesting was the first. It kind of played out like a straight-up fight.
Well, it was the first one.
He also had that lame dance.
I like his Bollywood dance.
I'm not going to say that the X's were, well-developed or anything, but with the possible exception of the twins, they were all very memorable.
I like the battle, though.
Well, of course, it was a musical battle where they turned it to 11.
These go to 11.
They just threw the CGI at you out of nowhere, but it was epic the way they did it.
This film has a very unique style to it, perhaps more so than any other movie in recent memory. I mean, Sin City was building upon Frank Miller's noir style. This, on the other hand, uses elements from the comic, combined with video game elements, combined with anime elements, and blends them all together seamlessly.
Of course. Hell, they have emoticons. They have floating sound effects.
They had a P-bar.
Yeah, and the soundtrack is a weird blend as well. Like, there's that Legend of Zelda in there, but it's blended with Final Fantasy and even Seinfeld.
And the cool thing is that even though they reference so many different elements of pop culture, it never halts the flow of the plot or obstructs the humor.
I was a little uncertain about the music that the actual bands play in the movie. I think they actually used both Beck and the producer of Radiohead for the music, and the influence of both can be clearly seen.
This is the beginning of the song.
This was sort of said earlier about the X's, but I want to expand upon it. Despite the huge number of cast members, there was never any sense that any of them were getting shortchanged or underdeveloped. I can't believe I'm saying this, but even the stunt doubles made an impact.
In our Shaun of the Dead review, I briefly stated that Wright was sort of like the anti-Freeberg and Selzer. But you know what? That really is exactly what he is. He gleans humor out of massive casts and numerous references to pop culture by tying it together with good plot and good editing.
Yeah, while they throw pop references at the screen like it can substitute for those things.
And the respect that Wright has for geek culture that is involved is impressive. Like, I'm a nerd, but a lot of the stuff that was referenced just went right over my head.
Once again, I haven't read the comic. Is the name of the band Sex Bomb present in the comic?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Well, that humor meshes well with Wright's, and sometimes the references are as subtle as, somebody wearing an Astro Boy or, Atom t-shirt, whichever you want to call them. Now, Cameron, you said that you found the first 20 minutes to be, I think the term was glacial.
Did I say that?
Do you agree with the term?
Yeah, I do. I felt like for the first 20 minutes it was kind of slow.
Well, it took a while for the action to actually kick in. I did feel that the humor helped carry it and prevented it from getting dull. Would you disagree?
Oh no, it was funny. I wouldn't say that I disliked it. I just felt the pacing was a little uneven.
Okay, that I can agree with. I actually brought that exact same issue up in our Shaun review.
I think Edgar Wright might have problems conveying the premise in the first act without slowing down the pace a bit.
Yeah, minor complaint though.
Yeah, it's a damn good movie, and I'm not really that bothered by it.
We should talk briefly about the final boss. I get the feeling that he might be a parody of all those huge final bosses that are capable of filling up a screen, because he doesn't look intimidating in the least. He looks like Bill Gates. I mean, he is admittedly still a badass, though.
How is he badass?
He summons an energy katana with ninja cheat codes.
That just makes him a cheater.
He possesses the required level of badass to serve as an in-game boss. He just doesn't look the part.
There was one character that I think might have annoyed me slightly. Knives.
Is Guy here?
You know what? He just left.
Really?
Yeah.
I felt bad for her.
I did too, but she was pretty annoying as well. I mean, she was funny at points, but mostly through association with other characters, such as Routh's character.
Nice! What? I'm not afraid to hit a girl.
You punched the highlights out of her hair. He punched the highlights out of her hair!
She's almost like an anime stereotype.
Hell, I'm actually pretty certain that her outfit at the end is based upon a character from Bleach.
Which one?
Soifon?
Yeah.
This film took the geekiness from the comics and amped it to a level over 9,000!
What? 9,000?!
What about the scariest character in this damn movie? The random chick who seemed to be everywhere.
The barista that censors herself?
Yes, that one that constantly had a black bar in front of her mouth because she cursed like a goddamn sailor.
I can't believe you asked Ramona out after I specifically told you not to do that.
How are you doing that with your mouth?
Never mind how I'm doing it.
What about the fights in this film?
I thought that they were rather well done. The fighting game style that they used did help cover up a few, very minor shortcomings, though.
Once again, I feel that Edgar Wright does a great job in making the narrative mesh so well with the fight scenes.
Oh, one last thing. Wright not only did an excellent job sticking to the parameters that were set by the PG-13 rating, but also succeeded in making them funny via, the usage of coins as a substitute for blood and through skillful usage of censorship.
I have no real problems with this film. Almost every character was interesting and fun to watch, even when they had only one line. Even if he was annoying early on, Scott was still an interesting character, and I enjoyed watching his progression and growth. I think the best part of the film for me was Ramona Flowers, because she served as the perfect contrast to Peach, and I found a certain catharsis in that. There are some minor pacing issues towards the beginning, but those issues disappear almost entirely with the arrival of the second act. It's not perfect, but I'm comfortable giving this a harem brigade. That's 9 out of 10.
Everyone tends to rag on me for disliking Scott. He's a douchebag, and he's as close as you can be to being a pedophile without breaking the law. I hate him. Yes, he improves towards the end, but that's only after he escalates the douchiness. He breaks up with a girl who loves him on her birthday. I think my hate is valid. Everything else in this film is fucking awesome! But when a movie makes me hate a character as much as that, it drags the movie down for me. That's why I can only give it an abduct a friend. That's 8 out of 10.
I did intensely dislike Scott. He was a douchebag, but I felt it was used well, and the rest of the characters were used spectacularly. The film seemed to appeal to every part of me. It appealed to the critic in me, it appealed to the nerd in me, and it appealed to the comedic part of me. This movie was hilarious, and it was essentially a menagerie of awesomeness. Because of that, I gotta give this a harem brigade.
I'm not going to say that I love Scott as a character, but I felt that the initial dislike of him that the movie cultivated early on was well used and effective when it came to generating comedy. I liked the rest of the cast, Wallace in particular. He was my favorite character in this entire film. The style of the film was unique and effective when it came to, formulating its identity. If there was no substance to this film, I'm not sure that I would care because it was so entertaining, but it does have substance to it. This is ultimately a film about learning to grow up while still maintaining some of your childlike enthusiasm. I think it worked on all these levels, so I'm giving it a high abduct a friend.
Well, with 2 abduct a friends and 2 harem brigades, the averaged MediaWhorz rating is harem brigade. So, if you'll excuse me, I have to go beat up a rocker so that I can pay my rent.
We are